you a self-storage facility owner or manager looking to attract more customers and boost your business? Look no further than the Storage Group, the ultimate solution for your online marketing needs. The Storage Group is a digital marketing firm specializing in cutting-edge self-storage technology products and services. We ensure industry success and improve customer experience through website design, digital marketing services, search engine optimization, and software development for the storage industry. And the Storage Group's Click and Store is self-storage's only rental suite. This is more than a rental tool. Click and Store Online Rental Suite is an extensive platform that optimizes revenue, enhances rental security, and increases your facility's visibility. We pioneer, innovate, and create. Our experts develop proven digital marketing strategies catered to your needs. With extensive search marketing research, we drive client success through their websites. Contact us for more information at www.storageinternetmarketing.com or call 407-680-2235.
Are you a self-storage owner or operator looking for service providers to help at your facility? Well, the Storage Business Owners Alliance, also known as the SBOA, has you covered. The SBOA is the premier online hub for connecting self-storage owners and operators to industry-leading products and service providers. We provide one-stop shopping for your business with exclusive offers to save time and money. At the SBOA, we believe by coming together, we help owners and operators grow revenue, gain purchasing power, reduce expenses, improve efficiencies, and increase profitability. We also offer many resources such as our conferences and self-storage unlock webinars to help self-storage owners and operators gain the knowledge needed to become more competitive in the industry. To become an SBOA member or to find out more information, please visit www.thesboa.com today. We can't wait for you to join the Alliance.
Tell us why you love self-storage. Come join us.
I love self-storage.
Yeah.
It's just become a part of my life. It really has. More than a career, because most of my good friends have come from self-storage. It's been such a blessing.
Yeah.
You know, not just a career blessing, but a blessing in life as well.
I love self-storage because of the people and the energy that they bring. I don't think I've ever seen an industry that's just this passionate about what they do, and there's always just something fun and exciting going on.
I'm so grateful. The community, the ISS, the SSA, all the associations have been, amazing. The friendships, and I have the privilege of, again, traveling to a lot of the state shows and the national shows. And again, it's just the community here is great, such as yourself, and this SBOA team has been amazing since they've come on the scene. I see a lot of amazing people doing amazing things, and it really inspires me to keep going.
To me, it's the people and the vendors and everything around. A lot of competitors, a lot of different solutions. Things are growing in the industry, but everybody is here to help each other.
Yeah.
But what I like the most is, I think, the innovation. It's amazing. I love the innovation, and I really like the people.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
I love the people in this business.
Yeah.
There are so many good-hearted, true blue, nice people here.
Yeah.
The other people here who do what we do are our friends.
Yeah.
I love the fact that people need stuff, and the more stuff that they need, the more they need to store it.
Right.
And when people are storing their stuff, they need a hug.
Yeah.
They need love.
They do.
We help people through a transitioning time and provide a service directly to their door while enriching storage professionals with additional revenue.
What I love about self-storage is that you're always meeting new people.
Always.
I love to just have a conversation with people, hear their stories, hear about what they do, because there's so many different things in the self-storage industry that you can be into, whether it be software development, tenant and commercial insurance like what we do. There's a lot of different colors and mixes in the industry, so that's what I would love about it. And also the conferences have some great venues too, so that's always a good perk, right?
My favorite thing about self-storage would have to be the opportunity to work with powerful and supportive women like yourself. and Iris and the rest of the entire industry as a whole. I think a theme for women in the industry is women empowering women very much comes across, whether you're a competitor or not even in the same technology or magazines or anything in the space. Everyone supports each other and is willing to help each other and provide feedback and resources. And that is huge in this space.
And probably the thing I love most about the industry is the people. You meet people from all over the country, all the vendors at these shows, your partners. They all have an interest in helping your business succeed and making the industry move forward. And everybody's kind of working towards the same goal. So that's been the best part.
Good morning, everyone in self-storage land, and welcome to today's Self-Storage Unlocked webinar, sponsored by SBOA Insurance Services. I'm Iris Czygan, president of the Storage Business Owners Alliance, better known as the SBOA. And today we're going to dive into how to be smart with your pay-per-click strategies. As small owners and operators, we want to show you how to make every advertising dollar count with high impact and low cost strategies. First, before we get started and I bring on our panel, I want to just give you a few audience reminders. The first 60 minutes of today's webinar, this is a newer format for us, will be, our general session. So everyone's invited, it's public, and then we have an extra 30 minutes at the end, so it's a total of a 90-minute program. The 30 minutes at the end is for VIP members, and I want to let everyone know you can still become a VIP member if you're not one already. And we have the link right down there at the bottom. Maybe Aaliyah's put it in the comments too. So you can just click on there and go in and become a member today, and you can still catch that extra 30 minutes at the end. And I do want to remind you that you can drop your questions in the chat at any time. I see some of you have already started saying hello. And we have a special reward for our most active poll and question participant today. Be sure to answer those polls when they come up and ask your questions. Get them answered live from the experts. We have them here for you. And our winner for the most active participant will get a $20 Starbucks gift card. We'll announce that at the end during the VIP session. And the replay of the general session will be available on our SBOA YouTube channel after the event. We'll have that link at the end. If not, Aaliyah can even put it in sooner. And with all of that, I'm going to go ahead and bring up Jeanne and Daniel, both of whom are from the Storage Group. How are you guys today?
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for inviting us. This is great.
Thank you. You always bring so much knowledge and great tips to these webinars, and I'm really excited to get a whole 90 minutes with you guys today. Jeanne, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, what you do at Storage Group, and what Storage Group does for the industry?
Sure. My name is Jeanne Dotson, and I am the marketing manager at the Storage Group. And the Storage Group is really an interactive agency. We work to make sure that self-storage owners and operators have a strong digital presence. It's as important as your physical location. You need to make sure a lot of people, when they're searching for local businesses, and we know how local self-storage is, it's hyper local, you need to have a strong online presence. And we help you do that in a number of different ways, through websites. We have Click and Store, which was the industry's first online rental tool. We just launched an AI component that can help answer questions called Aiden Chat. And we do pay-per-click, SEO, social media. We never outsource. It's all in-house. And we're geeks, so we love to share our knowledge. So we're excited about this.
That's great. And I know a lot of people do need help with social media. And of course, we'll get into that in a little bit. But hello, Danny. How are you today?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm great. Danny, tell us what you do at the Storage Group.
So we're, as far as the PPC department, it's me and one other person. I've been there the longest. I've worked in the industry as far as Google Ads is concerned for about 8 years now. So I've worked in a lot of different industries, which is good because it gives you a little bit more of a broader range on how things work across the board as opposed to just one specific industry. So I've been able to bring some cool different ideas over that have ended up working out pretty good for this specific storage industry. So, and I've been with the storage group now for coming up on 2 years. So I feel like I have a good understanding of the industry as a whole.
That's awesome. Yeah, so what do you love about self-storage? We had that little video before we started. I'll ask both of you.
Yeah, as far as for what I do with the PPC side of the house, what I like about self-storage is that it is local lead generation mixed with a little bit of e-commerce because people can sign up online and check out. So it has that aspect to it. But since it's lead generation, it's more of a local focus as opposed to, you know, trying to target an entire state or trying to dial in a campaign for a whole country. It makes it a little bit easier, Now, with that, each area is different, so it varies on the tactics you have to use. Depending, it could be a city over, and it's going to be a different type of clientele. So it keeps you on your toes. It's fun.
Love that. What about you, Jeannie? What do you love? You've been in self-storage a little bit longer than Danny.
Yeah. Even though I've been doing digital marketing since 2000, I started in television working in promotions and marketing in 1994, but 2000 I started with digital marketing, and actually for over a decade now I've focused digital marketing on self-storage as well as boat and RV storage. We're actually very different clientele with that as well. But what I love is it is dealing with people during those transition times in life, whether it's downsizing or relocating, deploying, starting college, ending college. And I love that there's a higher need, you know, people, that's their stuff. I always think about that's their stuff and they're trusting you with it. And I love the people that run these facilities just because they care about that. They're in, you know, they want to know who rents from them. They want to have a good understanding. But it's just a neat industry that I don't think many people think about, but you have to understand them because some people only need storage at certain parts in their life, but when they need it, they're usually in a kind of desperate situation, not desperate, but an important time. And so I like that part of it. I like that whole part of it.
That's fantastic. Well, I want to get started. We'll talk first a little bit about market conditions in 2025. And I know you all have a presentation. I don't know if you want to bring that up now.
Yeah.
You can get through the beginning slides and we'll go from there.
Okay. So we introduced ourselves. Today we're going to have a lot to go over. We really wanted to give an overview. We're getting more and more questions about pay-per-click. So we really thought it was spot on to have this webinar at this time. We're going to go over market conditions and how they're changing. We're going to talk about why PPC seems to matter now more than ever. A lot of people, especially we're talking to smaller facilities, owners and operators, a lot of times they just feel like PPC is not an option for them because they don't have the budgets that maybe the REITs have. And if you do it properly and you target, it can be very beneficial for you and get those occupancy rates up. We're going to talk about conversion tracking. So how do you tell if it's working for you? And what do you have to look for? Are there tweaks you have to make? All those things we're going to talk about. And then common mistakes that people make when they run a PPC campaign or have somebody run a PPC campaign for them so that you can avoid those. And then choosing a marketing agency to handle that for you. We're going to talk about red flags as well as best practices. Then we'll go over the key takeaways that you got, hopefully, from this presentation. And then questions and answers. So we got a lot going on.
Yeah.
So I go to shows and a few years ago, it was if I build it, they will come. And people didn't have to worry so much about marketing. They could take their time with figuring out the marketing things. Now it's a little bit different. A lot of people are finding themselves in a soft market. And what do I mean by that? It means that either demand is low or supply is high. There's so much competition in a lot of different markets. And that makes it harder to maintain high occupancy rates. So suddenly people are like, I didn't have to think about it, but tell me about PPC. Can it help me? Can I do it? And that's why I believe that PPC is now more important than ever. One of the great things about PPC, because as marketing goes, there's long-term strategies and short-term strategies. And what I mean by that is long-term strategies, let's say if you do search engine optimization, which is getting your website to rank high in the organic listings when you type in a query into Google, looking for self-storage, storage near me, all that kind of stuff. It can take time. If you're starting fresh, if you have a new one or you haven't done SEO before and you're just not coming up for those key terms, it can take time once you start doing SEO to get those search engines to crawl at your site and start ranking you higher and higher, because you are a great option for people that are searching for self-storage in your area. PPC is much more immediate. You can put together a campaign and launch it, and once Google approves it, it can be running within 24 hours. So you could have an immediate thing, an immediate need, and this is something that can help you. So PPC can work, and even with a tight budget, because it delivers targeted, affordable visibility, and you're reaching people exactly when they're searching for self-storage in your market. So those are qualified leads in that they're looking exactly for what you offer. So one of the important things about PPC is being visible when you do a Google search and you get the results page. So everything's an acronym. Sorry if I keep using them. But SERPs, when you hear people say SERPs, that's the search engine results page. So if you type in storage near me and you hit enter and you get a page that has all these different results, PPC ads appear above the organic rankings. So you are at the top. And then it also provides this immediate visibility, hopefully provides traffic to your website, as well as the ability to fill maybe some units. Say if you have a lot of 5x10s and you just haven't been able to rent them out, you could create ads specifically targeting them, possibly with a special, and hopefully that would be a way for you to move that inventory. Some of the benefits for small facilities is that it helps you to compete with the REITs. You can appear alongside the REITs, and you can, they may have a larger budget, but when you're there, your ad's right there next to them. It could be that right now you feel like they just have so much at their disposal. This can put you at a much more level playing field. It also helps drive local traffic, because not only are you targeting storage units, storage locker, wine storage, boat and RV, boat storage in your area, but you can target where your ads appear. And Danny will go into that much more, but you can geo-target, so you can do radius, you can target in all sorts of ways to make sure you're getting local traffic. If you're not in Boston, you don't want people who are in Boston looking for storage. You want people in your local area that are looking for storage. And this is a great way to do that. And then, like I said before, you can promote specials. So that might be another way. Let's say you see what your competitors are running in their PPC ads, and you're like, I can beat that price. We beat that price. We need to highlight that in our ads. Or if you want to do specific ones, if you're really trying to rent out some of the sizes that just people aren't coming in and necessarily renting, you can create ads that are specific for that and maybe do a special with that. So it helps you with all those things.
I'm just going to jump in real quick here and just remind everybody that we did have a poll question.
Yes.
Our first poll question was, have you ever run a PPC campaign for your self-storage facility? I see Corey and Tamara both said they have. I'm curious, Tamara and Corey, how did that work for you? Did you hire someone? Did you do it yourself? And was it difficult?
Yeah, I wanted to ask some of these questions so we could get an idea, because some people, it's brand new to them, and I'm throwing a lot of terms out there. Some people are much more familiar with it. So hopefully I'm kind of helping both with this. But in the questions and answers, please let us know if there's some clarification you guys need. So the good news with PPC, like I said, it allows you, even the smaller competitors, to stay visible, which is what it's all about, and to stay competitive. And if you create the right budget, you target the right keywords, your ads are strong with a strong call to action, it can be a cost-effective way for you to rent storage units. Now, a lot of people kind of have this notion, I get this from the questions I'm asked at different shows, they kind of feel like they either have to do PPC or SEO. And I wanted to bring up that it's really done well. It can be a really good tool to use them together to enhance each other. So with PPC, like I said, it's more immediate. So if there's certain inventory that you want to try to promote. SEO, you don't pay for people each time they click on it. Obviously, with the ads, you do. But if you can get high enough rankings, then there's times when you may pause your PPC campaign and then bring it back when it's change of season or you feel like your occupancy rates are slipping. But they can really be used to enhance each other so that you're using a short-term as well as a long-term strategy. Also, if you find your competitor is just really ranking well and doing well for a term, you know your people are searching for, you can use PPC to target those keywords that maybe organically you're not showing up for while you're working to improve your organic rankings. And that can fill in the gap, kind of a thing. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use it. So think strategic with them. Another few things I wanted to talk about and just remind people of is if you use PPC and SEO together, you can maximize your results. Definitely, you can increase your visibility. There are some people that look at ads and that's what it's at the top. They look at those. There's some people that know that those are ads and they're going to look at the organic. So another way to use them together is to appear in both. A lot of times people feel it gives credibility to also show that you have good rankings organically along with your ads. It takes up more real estate on your on the search engine results page, the SERP. And then, like I said, it's a balance, the combined of the short term and the long term, so that you are creating a strong digital presence for your self-storage facility. And then, like we talk about, self-storage is hyper local. There's only so far people will drive to go to a storage facility. So you need marketing tools that are very localized so that you're not wasting your money reaching people that are not going to use your facility. So you can definitely use these two things together in order to strengthen your local reach. And I think we have another poll. Is that correct? Question?
Yep, I think we do. Let's see here. Oh, there it is. What is your biggest challenge when it comes to PPC advertising? So if you have tried it, I know Corey and Tamara have, what were the challenges that you faced?
Yeah, that's always important to know. That way, maybe at the end, we can help you guys or give some suggestions. The next few slides, I'm going to turn it over to Danny. He's going to talk more about what to do within your campaigns and go into greater detail about those things. So,
great.
Danny, take it away.
So when it comes to starting with your monthly budget, the best way to kind of figure out for your market where you should be at, or, within budget reasonably, obviously more is always better to an extent. But using it under the tools option on the Google Ads navigation bar, there's the keyword planner. In the keyword planner, you can search basically based on the site. It'll give you really good keyword ideas. And then based off those ideas for that specific area, because you could geofence it to your local city or your county, however far out you want to go. And with that, you could see what people are willing to pay in your area for cost per click on the top end of the bid range and on the low end of the bid range. Because essentially Google Ads is just, it's an auction house, and you're bidding against competitors to show to these prospective clients. So let's say, for example, the top of bid range in an area is around $20, but the low end is around $2. You could either go to the top of that range and say, okay, I'm going to set my daily budget at $20 daily, or you can meet it somewhere, a little bit lower and say $15 daily. And it's just kind of a feeling out process. Now, what I will say is in the beginning of a campaign, the more money you could throw at it in the beginning, the quicker you're going to optimize, because you can get more impressions, and it gives Google's back-end AI a lot more time to, or a lot more data to go off of to see who's most likely to convert. And that gets into the bid strategy a little bit. And I'm sure I'm going to go off on tangents this entire time. Hey, I'll try to keep it on point. Yeah, it's very difficult. But once you set that,
Tamara already said her biggest challenge for them with PPC is managing costs and maximizing ROI. So, it's timely that you're talking about budget right now.
Yeah. And what you want to do is, I don't ever suggest setting, a target CPA if you're using, because you should maximize conversions bid strategy. A lot of times Google will want you to pair that with broad match keywords, but I've had better success using phrase match, but we can get into that when we get to keywords. But when you pair that with the target CPA, I would wait until you have at least minimum 20 to 30 conversions, which for each market's going to be different. Some of those will be within the first month. Some markets and lower budgets may take 3 months to see that, depending on how rural an area is. So once you get to like that 3-month mark or that X amount of conversions, then you set your CPA. And within that same timeline, you can then take a look at the data and say, okay, based off of this and the conversions we're getting, now we could switch over to a maximized conversion value, which usually is the best bid strategy to use, but it takes time to get there. It's, even though PPC is much quicker to optimize than SEO, it still takes time to get it dialed in. It's not like you make the ads and then tomorrow morning you're getting all these conversions and everything's awesome. It still takes a little bit of time to dial in. But yeah, that covers that for the most part. And as far as the geofencing, again, this is local lead generation. So you have to take a look at your specific area. Now, if you're in downtown Boston, you're probably not going to want to go farther than, say, 4 miles for your radius. And one very important thing to look at is under the location settings, when you are geofencing, there's 2 options. You have people that are regularly in your area, and then you have presence or interest. Now, I'd say 9 times out of 10, you're going to want to probably go with people in or regularly in your targeted location, just to keep out all the bad traffic. Now, the times I have seen the presence or interest that makes sense is if you're in a big vacation destination spot where people are traveling, to your area from far away, whether it's for like it's around a big lake, like in the Ozarks, and people go boating. So they want to store their boat there, but they don't necessarily live within that area. So that's something to take into account. You're going to have to know your market and who it is that you're working with as far as the clients and where they're coming from. But again, 9 times out of 10, if you don't know or you're not 100% sure, going with people in or regularly in is going to be your safe bet. Now, as far as the excluding regions outside of your service area, you don't want to go too crazy with it. You can see within your overview page of the campaign, where people are clicking on geographically, where those clicks are coming from, or if you're using Google Analytics, you could see that. So if you're going with presence or interest, I would 100% recommend monitoring that heavily, because you want to start to exclude the other countries. Because generally speaking, people aren't going to store a boat that are, searching from Bangladesh when you have something in like Missouri, so there's, it's basically just determining on who your target market is, which setting you have selected. Now, if it's people in or regularly in, you don't have to exclude as much, just because the ad's only going to show to them if they're within that area on a given day or regularly within that area. So if they're driving an hour regularly to your area, then I wouldn't want to exclude the county over, essentially, because they may actually have good traffic there. So as far as going over the keywords, now when it says add, local terms, this is more geared towards when you're building the ad themselves. It's good to include the city names. So for example, self-storage or Asheville self-storage. If you live in Asheville, North Carolina, that's where I'm at. So you'd want to target a lot of city keywords. But as far as the keywords themselves that you're using for the search intent, you don't have to include city names within those, because if you're geofencing it already, if somebody's searching self-storage near me, it should only be popping up for them, generally speaking, if they're within that, people in or regularly in that targeted location. Now, as far as picking them, what I would suggest is using that keyword planner. And when you narrow down the keywords you think you want, just verify with the bid ranges that you're getting the most bang for the buck, because usually it'll tell you the competition, if it's low, medium, or high. And the high competition keywords in your market are always going to be the most expensive, where it can get to like $20 cost per click. So what you want to do is look for something very similar to that high intent keyword or that high competition keyword that may have the smallest variation, but if you're using phrase match, it'll still capture those same searches, but you can get it at a very reduced rate. And that could be anything. You'll be able to look at those keywords that are being searched for and determine, okay, that's almost identical, but this one is way cheaper, low competition versus the high competition one. So that's my biggest piece of advice, is right there, because that's going to save you a lot of money.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
And I do want to remind the audience, we had one more poll question. What is your primary goal for running PPC ads? Have you even determined that yet? Do you know what your goal is? That's something you want to kind of have sort of a worksheet, I guess, guys. If you're creating a strategy, the number one thing is, what is it?
Exactly. And that way, if you're achieving it or not. Are you working towards that goal? The great thing about PPC, and we're going to go over it a little bit later, is it is so trackable in a lot of ways. So you can see how many impressions you're getting and how many clicks and all sorts of stuff, but you have to understand what those all mean. So Danny, if you want to continue on.
Yeah. So when it comes to writing all the ad copy or the verbiage within the ads themselves, again, this use local terms is kind of reiterating using your city name, or if you're very familiar with that area because you live there, if they have different kind of lingo that they use for those areas. Like I know when I live in a certain area, people call things a certain place, but if you look on Google Maps, you will not find that name. Things like that, because it shows, local ownership, which is good. As far as the calls to action, if you're building a responsive search ad that's, 15 headlines, I like at least 5 to 6 of those minimum to be calls to action, like just how they have in here. Book online today, easy online rentals, call now for discounted rates, things like that, basically to try to pull them in. Because if you just load it up with self-storage, lingo, it's not going to convert as much. You have to have the calls to action. People need to have their hand held in order to complete the purchase.
I think that's very true with any marketing, is what's the next step? You have to think, what's the next step to get them to take it? And I can't tell you how many ads I see, and I'm like, okay, you piqued my interest, but it doesn't tell me what to do next. I am interested. Now what do I do? And it seems silly, but it actually is. That's the way the mind works. So Make
Yep.
sure you
The
do that.
easier the process is and more drawn out for the potential client, the more likely they are to sign up. The steps to sign up should be very simple. It's either a phone call or a quick online purchase with as little steps as possible.
Exactly.
And as far as the benefits, just on that last one, under the responsive search ads, because I would imagine most people, the safest place to start is with a search campaign. There's all different kinds of campaigns in Google Ads to run, like Performance Max, Demand Gen, and obviously this one doesn't relate, but shopping. I want to say there's close to 8. But with that, there's a call out section listed under the responsive search ad while you're building it. And you can include things like this, all the perks, and it'll throw it into the ad copy as additional space to take up, which is good. And then as far as the discounts here, if you can come up with a promotion, even if you have to raise prices to then initiate the promotion so you stay at the same price, when people think they're saving money, the ad conversions go up through the roof. So if there's a 20% discount or save $30 or first month free, any of that makes a massive difference. If you're not running a promotion, you're losing out big time on conversions. They will click onto your ad and go with you just based off of the thought of saving some cash.
Right. And responsive ads, can you go into that? Because you're using that term, but I'm not sure everybody understands, or do you want me to?
Yeah, no. So within a search campaign, you have pretty much 2 different, well, you have 3, I guess, different ads that you can run. You can run a call ad, a responsive search ad, and a dynamic ad. So the difference between, because the 2 most popular, dynamic and responsive search ad. So with a responsive search ad, you are in total control of all the headlines that you're building, as well as the descriptions and a lot of other things like the call outs, the snippets, the types of images that you would add. Whereas with a dynamic ad, you're almost, and I suggest everybody runs a dynamic ad alongside the responsive search ad. Because you're almost competing against Google to see who's going to do better. With the dynamic, Google will pick the headlines based off what the person searched and show them headlines they think would be most likely to pull that client in. The responsive search ad, you never know exactly what the ad's going to look like because you're choosing 15 different headlines, 4 different descriptions, and it will start over time to change the combination of using 2 to 3 headlines with 1 or 2 descriptions, and it'll go through these different combinations until it finds what's converting the most, and then it doubles down on those. So yeah, I don't want to go into A/B testing right now. I can go.
Right.
Spend a lot of time just trying to trail.
You can tell it, okay, here's different headlines you can use. Here's the first line of copy you can use. And you give them like 3 or 4 different ones. The trick with it is they run it in any combination. So you have to make sure each line says something by itself, because it may not be followed up with the line you put under it. It may be, they may pick B but C for the third line of copy. So each statement, the headline, and there's 2 lines of copy, they could be used in any combination. You give them like 3 or 4 different options. So just make sure your thought is completed within that headline. And then there's character restrictions. We could go on and on. It's a lot, but I just wanted you to know that that's what those kinds of ads are.
Yep. And then, so we're going to the ad extensions now, and this is a lot easier when you're running your own ads that are linked up with your Gmail account. So it has your Google business profile paired with your Google ad account. What that'll allow you to do is basically link the Google business profile to the ad account. So then you could start to show in those sponsored sections on the map itself too. And one thing kind of off tangent, but I would highly suggest staying away from the display network. There's an option under the campaign settings that use search network and display. Stay away from display network. There's a lot of spam and bots that come in with that, but the search network is highly useful to use. And it's part of that is using the map section as far as popping up on ads there and basically across Google's search network. They have a lot of partners, so it is very, very useful to use.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, where'd it go? I was like, that's moving quick.
And display means that that's when ads appear within articles.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not quite sure what article? your
Yeah.
ad will appear under. They try to do it by categories. So it could be that they're talking about self-storage, but it could be somebody died at a self-storage facility, and you're like, I don't want my ad to show up there.
Yeah. No.
No. So that's what the display is, that when you're reading through articles and your ad can appear within that. So a lot of people they end up not liking where they appear because it is in that category, but it's not putting things in the best light.
Yep, 100%. It's a lot of things get shown on like the news websites and things like that. I'm sure everyone's seen ads on the side of a news website, and that's kind of what that display network is. Just so if anybody had any kind of idea of what it looked like, basically display paired with an image and shown on a different website. I think
before we go into ad extensions, Tamara had a question. How effective is using giveaways as a highlight? I think you kind of touched on that a little bit.
Yeah, that's on the promotion. So giveaways are hard because it's when you're setting up a promotion in Google where it'll show in the ad and they highlight that a lot, it kind of only gives you a couple options. It says give a monetary discount, so like $30 off, or a percentage discount. And the character list is like 20 characters, so it's very short. So you have to be really short and sweet and to the point. So doing a giveaway is kind of hard because there's no way to write that verbiage in, because then it'll say, X amount of percent or X amount of dollars off of, and then that it only gives you 20 characters to use. So it's very difficult. What you can do is you can highlight or you could pin one of your headlines. So your headline will give you like 30 characters to write with, and you can put that giveaway in a headline and pin it. And when you pin it, it'll ask you which position you want it pinned to. And that way, every time the ad shows, that headline will always be shown. Mm-hmm. And you could also add it in as a call out as well, under the call out, not like written into the actual headline, but there's a call out section where you can add that in as well. But pinning the headline would probably be the most effective because it's the first thing they see, and people like free stuff. So
absolutely good.
Yeah.
Okay, ad extensions.
So yeah, with the ad extensions, I believe the next page, if you go one more over, it kind of touches on them. Yeah, so here you have the site link extensions. Now, what I like about site links the most is it's the real estate of your ad. So you always want to fill out, in my opinion, everything in an ad. You want to take up as much space as possible, because when your ad is shown at that top spot, that number one spot, you want to bump everybody else as far down the page as you possibly can, because usually with Google Ads, you'll see 2 to 3 different ads at the very top when you do a search. And the more space you could take up, the more people are most likely to click on your ad, because they're not even going to see the competitors without having to scroll. So, and within the site links, one thing that I found is pretty effective is if you have, obviously if it's a brand new business, this may not work, but putting in like 5-star reviews and just writing in, as a site link description or a headline, and then under there putting description, hundreds of 5-star reviews, or, whatever the case may be there. And that kind of builds more credibility right off them seeing the ad with your business, because you're like, hey, we have tons of 5-star reviews, and you can link it to a review page on your site or just the home page. Now, as far as the location and call extensions are a must. If you're running the ad and you're not putting in a call extension as an option for them to call, where you can track that as a conversion, you are missing out on so much business, because there's 2 types of people that are looking at these ads. Either, one group, they're going to want to make a phone call all day long and talk to a person to sign up. And the second group is they're just going to sign up on the website without ever talking to anybody. Now, you'll be losing half the conversions if you don't have an option to simply call, because this call extension isn't that they have to click onto the ad and then go to your website and then click a call button, which you could set up tracking for that too. Just those are far less likely to actually proc a conversion. But with the call extension, it'll show when the ad is shown, there's a call button, and everybody's lazy. So they have the option to just click that button right there, and it's automatically going to connect them to you or your business, whoever's answering that phone. Now, as far as the local extensions, I don't see a reason to not add this. It may not be the easiest thing to track and say, hey, what did we actually get from that? But what it does essentially is within the ad, just like the call extension where there's a button, it'll show your address point and an option for them to click on it and drive to the location. So for me, it's just a way to keep, the finger on the pulse, be like, okay, how many actual signups did we have? How many conversions did we have? So we can kind of see how, maybe, hey, if we had a ton of people using the directions function and they didn't sign up, maybe our radius is a little too big. Maybe we should shorten it. Maybe they mapped out to the location like, wow, that's a lot farther than I'm willing to drive for my self-storage facility that I want to, store with. So just another way to gather data.
While we're still on that last slide, because you brought up SiteLink, and Corey had mentioned earlier in one of the polls that their biggest challenge is a lack of conversion data from storable website integrated with SiteLink. And I wondered if you knew anything about that.
That's going to be different. Site links in regards to what we're talking about is when you see the ad underneath, there's links on your website. So contact us now, rent now, 5-star reviews.
Those are links from your website. Yeah, sorry, it has the same name, but
gotcha.
Yeah,
that's a little confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't speak to the SiteLink stuff. I'm not too sure about that as far as setting up conversion tracking with them. I don't know if you know anything about that.
I'd have to. I'm not sure. Yeah, it would have to be almost like their thank you page, something that would let them know that something has been completed, that you could put the Google tracking code on, so that they could track it all the way to the conversion.
Yeah,
right?
or they get into GA4 with Google Analytics, which is super fun, which is sarcastic. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into setting up GA4. GA4 is like the fail stop if you can't get the conversion tracking set up with Google Tag Manager, because like you said, you don't have a thank you page or a unique page that it takes you to. Then you have to rely on GA4, which is like speaking a new language.
And GA4 is Google Analytics 4. It's their latest analytics that they switched and got rid of the old one, which everybody loved. And because it's Google's world and they just allow us to live here, they didn't ask people, and it's much more complicated to get them.
We could do a whole 10-hour course just on GA4.
Yeah, and as soon as you got done, it will be different because they'll have changed it while you're doing
exactly. Or it's like the other way worked. They're like, no, we're going to do it this way now.
But there's definitely always a way to get it set up and get it done. It's just it may be a lot more involved than just using Google Tag Manager and a quick setup. So
yeah. And some other things. Now, these, just to reiterate, because I know we keep talking and we don't want to lose anybody. So the ad extension, so you have your headline and 2 lines of copy in your ad. And then these extensions are things that go under here. So you're taking up, like you said, more real estate, because you can add these different things so that your ad becomes bigger and bigger on your website. So we're talking about the different things you can add below your ad that will give more reason for them to click on it. So let's talk about structured snippets.
Yeah, so with snippets, it's just another way, like you just mentioned again, to take up more real estate and just to bring up features. Like if you have electricity within the storage units, that's something that may separate you from the competition. Or there's climate controlled units, whether it's drive up units. You just want to highlight things about what you guys are offering to help you, 1, stand out, and 2, mainly to take up more real estate. Taking up all the real estate is what you want at the end of the day. You want the biggest ad possible. So make sure that in the beginning, when you start your Google Ads campaign, it won't really allow you to use images. But after 2 to 3 months, you will be able to. And the second that happens, you need to be putting in some quality images in there, because that takes up more space and builds up more relevancy to the ad and what they see. People like to see stuff.
And you have to realize a lot of people, okay, so like I talked about, this is their personal stuff. And so they're very, with me, I've worked hard for everything I've gotten. So I want to keep things safe and secure. This is a great place to put things like 24-hour access, if you have that, or gated, secure cameras, anything like that makes them feel better about it, because they may not know anything about your storage facility, but you're trying to build trust really quickly.
very quickly. So, but yeah, and then also too, you can add prices in there. Now, as far as the pricing goes, there's two ways to look at it. Either it's a quick, hey, don't click on my ad because obviously my pricing is not within the range that you were seeking, or it's that you guys are offering really affordable self-storage. So you want to harp on that because it's going to help you gather more clients that way. So two different ways to think about it. I'm not a huge fan of price extensions. We use them sometimes in those two cases, but if it's just, if you're in the middle of the pack as far as pricing, there's nothing really to highlight there, whether, so, I wouldn't harp too much on the price extensions, but again, it is a way to take up more real estate because it adds a bunch of boxes at the bottom that show, the different prices for the sizes. So something that you could definitely do. I'm just not the biggest fan of it personally. All right. So yes, Google Tag Manager and GA4.
Sorry.
That's it. That's all the time I had.
I don't want to talk about Google Ads.
So as far as the conversion tracking goes, this is pretty much one of the obviously writing good ad copy and building a good ad is incredibly important, but without this part, it means nothing. So a lot of times when people don't understand Google Ads, they'll say, yeah, I'm running a maximize click bid strategy and I'm getting a ton of impressions, a ton of clicks. And I'll ask them, I'll be like, okay, that's great. You have a great click-through rate. What's your conversion rate? And they have no idea. And to me, that's just, we're just throwing money to the wind because we don't know what we're actually getting, what we're getting in return for this. It's kind of like comparing digital marketing where you can show exactly what you're getting, what your conversions are versus, doing like brand awareness with, a billboard or a magazine ad. And it's like, those are cool, but you don't know what you're getting. And the whole selling point behind the digital marketing is that it's tangible and you could see, hey, I spent this much money. These are the conversions I got and it led to this much, revenue. So we could see what we're getting. So with these, I would say the two main tracking things that you need to have is phone calls and actual signups. I know some people have reservations and stuff. That's perfect too. You could set that up. Granted, that's, you're not getting exact money for that, but you can see what traction you're getting from the ad itself. And you could follow up with those leads later on down the road for the reservations. I like to prioritize, obviously, the signups, because if you can have people sign up directly online while you guys are closed at night and you're sleeping, that's ideal because you're actually taking that money in. Now, when you set these up, what you want to do is with the conversion values, and when you go under the settings, under the conversions, there'll be conversion values, and that tells Google what you're prioritizing. So for a direct sign up, if you set it to $50 or $100, whatever it may be, and then you set your call conversion value to $20 because it's not a guaranteed sign up at that point. So you want Google to prioritize the actual sign up.
And you mean reservation when you say sign up? Reservation, right? A rental
or an actual checkout, where they actually sign up and they give you money when they give you money. That's the important thing. So what that does is it lets Google's AI on the back end of the bid strategy know, hey, we should be prioritizing and searching for these types of clients. And not to get off on a tangent, but also if you have a notepad, mark out under the account settings to always turn on enhanced conversion client lists. And that way, every time you get a conversion, it's logging that person's information and creating an audience segment off of that so that way Google can use that to look at the demographics, salary, where they live, because they have all of our information anyway at this point. And it can then target people that are very similar to them. So it makes your bid strategy way more effective because it's already got an audience that converts and now it targets very similar people. But to get back on track, you always want to have this conversion tracking set up. The easiest way, in my opinion, is using Google Tag Manager in conjunction with Google Ads, because what that'll do is it'll show you the actual conversions in your Google Ads dashboard. So if you go to campaign or ad groups, and then you can select in the columns, what type of conversions we got. You can select all conversions or just phone calls, and that'll show you the real picture of what's going on. Now, can't really go too far into depth on how to set up Google Tag Manager right now because that'll take absolutely forever. But if you can do that, you have the option, like for example, with the checkout, like we said earlier, if you're if you can have it to where you go to a unique page after they check out where it says like thank you or something at the end or order receipt, that'll make it very easy to set up with Google Tag Manager. Now, as far as the not having that option, then you have to go with GA4, and that's a whole nother ballpark. But the call conversions are the easiest to set up because it's Google hosted. So you don't have to do any Google Tag Manager or coding. And now, unless you want to get the calls from the website itself, so if somebody clicks on the ad, travels to the website, and then clicks on the call button on the website, you could set up tracking for that. You have to set it up through Google Tag Manager. But at bare minimum, if you have no idea what you're doing, just set up the easy call ad conversion tracking through the extensions, because that'll actually give you an idea of what's going on. And since it'll be the only conversion tracking, then Google will then prioritize that conversion that you have, since it's the only one you have. Did Jeanne leave?
Looks like we lost Jeannie, and we're going to try to upload her slides. There we go.
We can continue.
Back to your page there, and we'll fill in. And she must be having some technical difficulties today, too. It seems to be a good day for that. I know I was having some earlier.
Yep. But yeah, so essentially at the end of the day, the conversion is just going to give you, all the data you need to know if what you're doing is making sense. And if it's not, then you can adjust and start changing things out with A/B testing and changing ads up, which is a whole nother topic. But basically just running other ads against it that have very small changes to see which ones perform the best. But yeah, we can go to the next one, I think, at this point. Yeah. So if you want to spend a lot of time in your Google ad account and really having to harp on the search terms, which is essentially showing you every time that your ad is shown or clicked on, what search it was that made the ad pop up. Now, if you go with broad match, that is going to capture a lot of irrelevant searches, which is fine because it gives you a really broad range, but you have to be willing to be in there on a daily basis and negatively tagging the keywords you don't want it to show for. Now, there's things that you can definitely put in the second you make the campaign for negative keywords, such as free. Free storage is definitely one that you don't want. And there's a bunch of other ones. I have an entire list of I think 40 or 50. Oh. And just things that or if you're not the cheapest self-storage out there, then words like cheap is another one that you can negatively tag so you don't show for that because it's not going to be your target market. That's the biggest thing. Now, when you use, Google will tell you to use broad match in conjunction with the maximized conversions, and it'll give you a better optimization score. But at the end of the day, Google is a business and they want to take as much of your money as possible. So sometimes listening to Google recommendations is not always going to be the best value or bang for the buck for your wallet and the results. So take it with a grain of salt what they're recommending you to do, because they want you to spend more money. And the goal, at least for me as a PPC specialist, is to get you the most bang for the buck at the cheapest cost. So yeah, that's so just got to be careful with what you're willing to allow them to change, and never click on the automatic auto apply for recommendations, because they will start doing crazy stuff like tell you your daily budget could go, you can get a lot more conversions with $100 daily budget when your daily budget's like $15. So yeah, it's like, oh, you don't say. You're like, I wish I had all that.
Have some problems.
Yeah. And then another big one here is your landing page. Where the ad lands on is going to be everything. It should honestly be a rental page, and your rental page should be really easy to navigate and to understand. There shouldn't be a whole lot of fluff, a whole lot of writing on there. I mean, it's just short, sweet, to the point. We almost consider it like a squeeze page. Like in lead generation, you would just want their name, phone number, email address as fast as possible. But with this, you just want them to sign up as quick as possible. So make it easy to read, easy to use to sign up. You basically just user friendly. And you'll get a lot more conversions that way. Like if your website looks like it's from 2005, you're probably going to get a lot less conversions versus the person that has a modern looking website. I've seen a few websites that are very old and it's just very hard to help them because the landing page just looks very sketchy. doesn't look the best. So that is everything. And as far as the ongoing management and testing. Just like I mentioned before with A/B testing, I'll touch on it briefly, is if I have a responsive search ad and I want to see if it can perform better with something I have an idea of, I could change maybe 2 headlines and 1 description out, and then run that against each other as an experiment and say, okay, now this one's performing better. I know it was either one of these 2 headlines or the description that made that difference. So then we can run, pause the other ad and run just this one, and then A/B test that one. Start to try to change something else again. Now, obviously, if your results are crushing it and you're doing really well, you don't necessarily have to go too crazy with it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But if you feel like it's not doing as well as you want it to, constantly trying out new things is what you want to do until you find what works best. And it's going to take, it's a never ending process. The same ads do good for a long time and then they fall off. So
I was going to say, how long should you give it before you know whether or not it's successful?
Full month. Because anything less than that, especially, and it depends on your market, right? Like if you're getting 2,000 impressions a month versus 500 because you're in a rural area, it's going to be harder to tell because you don't have as much data to work with. But if you're getting, 1,000 impressions a month, at the end of that month, you should know by that point, look at it and say, okay, we've given it plenty of time, because sometimes there's flukes where for a week you're like, oh man, this campaign has just come alive. It's going crazy. And then the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you're like, what happened? So, you don't want to just go based off of a few days or a week and you're like, oh, this is going to work perfect. It's doing amazing, because things can change quickly. So giving it that time to breathe and gives you a little bit more data and you see the full picture, as opposed to, it's a really small portion of it.
Yeah, definitely. I do want to make a quick announcement. It is a 12 o'clock mark, but we have decided that we're going to let everyone stay on for the extra half hour.